Kim Almanzar. I am Games for Change's Senior Director of Development, and I am so pleased to welcome Cristina Shapiro, Kristoffer, Gandrup, Marino, and Shuli Gilutz from UNICEF for a conversation about designing digital play with children's well-being in mind. Together, they will explore how children's rights, innovation, and collaboration with the gaming industry can help create experiences where children can thrive, and how UNICEF's RightTech initiative is working with developers to put well-being into design into practice. So please join me in welcoming our speakers.
What that says about us.
Hey. Yeah, I know. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. It's so good to be here this afternoon with everyone and to talk about our new Responsible Innovation and Technology for Children initiative, RightTech. This community is very special to talk to because I think the community of Games for Change already acknowledges that gaming is beyond entertainment. It really is a space for so many other well-being practices and experience for its players. So taking that into consideration, I don't need to convince you that, but you all know already that this is what's happening. So we're gonna be focusing on children. And at UNICEF, we spend a lot of time thinking about the environments children grow up in, which today include digital play, and many of it. And as such, for UNICEF, gaming is not some kind of side thing that we should maybe engage with, but it's something we should really acknowledge to see how that impacts children's growth and environments and play and well-being, and RightTech is one of those projects that does exactly that. So we see this as a great opportunity, not only for us to better children's lives, but for the gaming industry that are already in children's lives, to have this kind of positive impact on children and to set a new standard on where they're taking their products and what they create for the next generation. So today, we really want to talk about how can the gaming industry design digital play in ways that respect children's rights and actively support children's well-being. And we're not only talking about safety, of course we appreciate that, but we want to look beyond safety. We want to look about how digital play can make possible for children when it's designed thoughtfully and intentionally. So we'll be presenting 3 different aspects of this, and at the end of our conversation, we'll have time to questions for the audience. So please write down if you have any questions, and I hope we can get to that at the end. So first, we'll have Cristina Shapiro. She's the Chief Strategy Officer at the UNICEF USA. And Cristina will help ground us in UNICEF's broader work on children's rights in the digital world. Kristoffer Gandrup Marino, Senior Advisor for Innovation at UNICEF, will speak about UNICEF's innovation approach, our work with partners and industry, and why responsible engagement with gaming ecosystem matters so much to us. And finally, I'm Shuli Gilutz. I'm the RightTech Initiative Lead at UNICEF, and I will be telling you more about the work of RightTech and what does it mean to design for children's well-being in digital play. So let's start with Cristina. So Cristina, UNICEF's work is grounded in children's rights. As childhood becomes more and more digital, how is UNICEF thinking about children's rights in digital environments, including digital play?
Great. Thank you, Shuli, and it's a pleasure to be here today. I just want to start with a local answer, which is why this is relevant to me in my home. So if my 10-year-old were at day camp today, he'd probably be gaming. He'd probably be playing FIFA, because that's his game of choice. I actually brought my 17-year-old with me today, and if he wasn't here, he'd probably be doing some version of either FIFA or UFC, and then I'm sure he's going to be playing Fortnite with his friends tonight. And like the two of them, millions of children around the world are gaming regularly. It's not something that they do occasionally, it's something that they do regularly. And it's where they come to connect, it's where they play, it's where they explore, it's where I hate to admit it because I think I have a lot to learn as a mom who didn't grow up as a gamer, It's where they come to relax. And in fact, it's not just millions of children. I believe there's research that shows that over 1 billion children, or 90%, engage in gaming in some way. So when you ask, why is UNICEF here? And I want to start with that, because for some of you it might be obvious, but for some of you it may not. Why is UNICEF here? Well, our mandate is to ensure that to protect the well-being of every child everywhere. Everywhere. That is our mandate. And if we're not in a digital space, and digital spaces are now one of the largest global spaces that exists, we would not be able to fulfill our mandate if we were not looking at digital play. So that is why UNICEF is in this space. It's the Convention of the Right of the Child, the right of children to play, to be safe, to be heard, are all enshrined there, and that has to extend to the digital space as well. So that's why UNICEF. To your question of how is UNICEF thinking about this space, I want to bring a perspective of really focus on two things. One is UNICEF is here to broaden the conversation beyond harm. And we're here to do it in partnership, not in isolation. So and I'm sure Kristoffer and Shuli, you'll talk much more about that because you do this day to day. So in terms of broadening the conversation, it's really important to say that, of course, our mandate is to protect children in the digital space. But that's the starting point. That's the floor. That is not the end game. And really, the conversation that we're having actively with industry partners, ourselves in the United States and my counterparts around the world, are how to imagine a digital space where children can create, where children feel included, where children feel safe, where children can really advance and strategize, as we heard about this morning. That's the conversation we're having, not how do we just keep children safe? Again, that's the starting point, not the ending point. The second is building through partnership and collaboration. I specifically work at UNICEF USA. We're UNICEF's partner in the US. We partner with Xbox and other companies. And again, our goal is to engage the gaming industry to ensure that gaming can be there for both joy and purpose. And Shuli, you'll talk more about Right Tech, but that's an example of a partnership where UNICEF came together with the Lego Group, with support from the Lego Foundation. They brought in a lot of design experts, child development specialists, gamers, children, and really came together with a set of principles that would be made available to guide how gaming could be made possible, so that the products are also designed with children in mind. And that is exactly how we approach this work, is thinking about what is the digital space that we can create so that it is appropriate for children. And so when you have that broadened conversation and you have this partnership perspective, which is what UNICEF brings to the table, the takeaway is you can have good design, good products, and children's well-being that coexist. It is not a zero-sum game. It's not one or the other. Both can exist. And it's not about curtailing creativity. It's about increasing possibility and asking the question of how do we create an environment where children can thrive. And our perspective is if you create an environment where children like my sons are feeling included and they feel a sense of joy after playing and they feel safe, that creates engagement. And engagement is what gaming companies and tech companies want. So it is mutually reinforcing benefit. So what I want to leave you with is that the companies that are creating these digital spaces are also creating childhood along with us. And our goal as UNICEF is not to sit in the sidelines and critique it. It is to truly be a partner in shaping what that world can look like. And that's why we're here. So I'll stop here and let you take it from here.
Thank you. That's perfect. And really, that's the whole point. So digital play is not separate from childhood. A few years ago, he was saying, oh, these are the numbers of kids playing games. Oh, these are the numbers of kids, in digital experiences. No, it is childhood. So it's our responsibility to be in that space too, and we want to collaborate with you to make it a better space for all children all over the world. And I think that's a great shift to Kristoffer, and I'd like to ask you how UNICEF engages with the systems, industries, and partners shaping those environments, especially from an innovation perspective.
Right. Maybe to start from the same point of view in terms of sort of the floor. And I think my personal experience is I have two daughters, 10 and 13. So my 11-year-old was exposed to a grooming case And luckily, she called the police and called us as parents and got it stopped very early, but it turned very, very bad for some girls and ended up in a court case that just settled this January. So we've sort of gone through the full journey as parents to experience what that floor means. But I think exactly to your point, the floor is the floor. We want to do more. And for UNICEF, this is indeed about stimulating businesses to create something that help kids thrive, to help with the well-being, which is what this framework is all about. I come from a background of venture capital and corporates, and in those kind of contexts, innovation is typically about developing something that you are selling or investing in something. For us, it's much more about working with governments and partners to ensure that the frameworks are there and then creating the foundation, not the least the business incentives for businesses, corporates to invest. We had an old ED that famously said, philanthropy doesn't change the world of kids. Honing in big businesses' profit incentives on children does. And I think the size of the gaming industry as it's evolving has become more and more prime for us to engage in driving things in the right direction. And I think balancing across things in terms of both ensuring that floor, as you so appropriately named it, as well as saying, that's one thing and it's important, as per my own story. We absolutely have to ensure that, but if we truly want businesses to engage, we have to look beyond. We have to look at how do we create those parameters, including the profit incentives that are driving things in the right directions. So fundamentally, that's what innovation is about for us. So I always like to say that we represent the governments, the children, the partners, not the businesses, but it's the businesses creating the solutions that will help kids. And this is across the different areas we're working in. So I worked for more than a decade in our supply division, where I was head of product innovation and market shaping, and now I've taken on a broader role, including our program innovation, as we like to call it. But it's all about for us to identify these opportunities where we can see that by shaping the industry in a certain way, then we can create those positive opportunities for kids and for kids to evolve, and then work with the governments to get that taken up in various ways, whether that's turning it into policy, regulation, or more direct to the children or parents, which is likely going to be the case here, in saying, hey, with this framing that we are putting in place, we're hoping that the parents, the caretakers, the policymakers can feel more safe and positive about all the things that gaming can do, and through that hopefully also grow the market in a direction of creating games that create a positive change.
Thank you. I think that's actually a nuance that's really important for this conversation, for the ones we've been having across the past couple of days already. So we're not just saying that children's well-being is a business opportunity, even though we believe it is, because you build trust and you build better products, but we're saying it's part of the responsibility that comes with the industry that has so much success and so much presence in children's lives. So if we work together, we can actually have a win-win for all the stakeholders involved in this. And from our perspective, it's really important that we push, the children's perspective. But we're here to support you on the business side as well. So I will take that further and share the Right Tech project, which kind of bridges all the perspectives that both Cristina and Kristoffer presented. And it's really about what do we actually do to promote well-being in digital play from a gaming studio's perspective. So the Right Tech project started with a question, which is what is well-being for children in digital play? And it started with research led by our UNICEF's Office of Research in Innocenti that actually talked to more than 750 families and children from 18 different countries and asked them, when you're playing video games, when do you feel great? When do you feel joy? When do you want to come back and play more? And when do you don't? When do you drop it? When do you leave it? And that's like the opposite of well-being. And we took all those answers and all those quotes, and we created a framework. It's called the Right Tech 8 framework, and it actually has 8 dimensions of well-being for children in digital play. And what that means is, if you design based on these 8 dimensions, and no, you don't have to use all 8, and I'll share that in a second, you can promote well-being in your digital game experience or any kind of environment, basically. The idea is that intentional design can help children thrive, and that's huge. So we're giving shared language to the industry on how to do that. The 8 dimensions, I thought we'd have a slide, but I have them all here. So we have the 2 core dimensions, which are safety and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this, again, came from children. They said, when they don't feel safety in a game, when someone tries to steal their gems, or when they use bad words, they don't want to stay there. So it's not UNICEF coming and saying, oh, you have to be safe, or policy, or any other kind of legal side. It comes from the users themselves, the children and the families. They want a safe environment, and that creates well-being. But other dimensions, such as diversity, equity, I said diversity, equity, inclusion already, autonomy, emotions, competence, relationships, creativity, and identities are things that also came from children, that when designed intentionally, can promote their well-being. And the idea is you don't have to add all 8. You can sometimes have only 1, in addition to safety, of course, depending on the experience you want to design. There are different games, different experiences, different contexts, different children, different ages, and that's fine. But once you know this language, and once you use this concept, it's easier to aim for that and to know that this can support the children you're designing for. We developed a RightTech design toolbox with actual tools for designers. We developed it with design teams from different countries and different studios that designers can use at different touch points in the design process. So now we have the research, we have the tools, and now we're coming to you, because now we really want the industry uptake. So we're looking for partners and for ways to bring this into the industry. We're in conversations with leadership. We're building a community of practice for practitioners and designers and product teams that can come and share best cases of usage of this and challenges and how they overcame them. We're working with academic institutions that teach gaming and trying to really interact with all these actors in the gaming industry to promote uptake of the RightTech framework. Sorry about that. I will return the conversation to our panelists. And taking all that into consideration, so UNICEF's role, looking at childhood in this kind of digital engagement, and our engagement with partners for innovation, and the RightTech project, what needs to change for children's well-being to become a more central consideration in how digital play is designed, developed, and scaled?
I think there's a couple of things that need to happen. I've been in the impact investing world for a long time, and we're trying to do something similar, bring children's perspectives into investors and asking them to ask themselves the question of why children matter. And so for that to happen, I think people need to, similar to how do we incorporate this into the gaming industry, is there has to be a focus on children's well-being as a strategic differentiator, not just as a check-the-box kind of CSR mandate, right? What does that mean is that the designers at the start of the game, thinking about, to your point on the RightTech lens, how might children feel safe if I'm rolling out something that monetizes something in a game or some type of social feature? Do children feel included in the way that I'm doing this? And really seeing this as design, incorporating it into the design throughout the process, rather than something that is like, oops, we need to fix it at the end because it's a reputational risk. And so I think once that shift starts to happen, those that begin are going to be the differentiators, but at some point, those that are not there are going to be the ones that are not, keeping up. And so I think that has to change. But also, the incentives have to be there, right? It's not just intentions. And sometimes, you can't manage what you don't measure. And if we're not measuring children's well-being and we're measuring average revenue per user or certain things like that, at some point you might not optimize for children's well-being. So I think it's really thinking about it as a strategic differentiator. And I think, like you said, it's really just starting to ask some questions during the design phase, and then ensuring that you're setting up the right incentives within your gaming company so that the design is considering not just the revenue potential, but the well-being, and hopefully those two. And in fact, I think we're starting to see evidence that those two can align.
Right, so adding KPIs for well-being,
yes,
as well as other parts of the design process. Kristoffer.
Yeah, so building directly off of that, so I guess you can say that there's 3 things that can drive a change. It can be a regulatory drive, so stick type approach. It can be, as you articulated, something that's front and center and it's just there per se, or it can be directly an ROI type engagement. And we're trying to think across all those three of the dimensions. And then on top, think not just about offering a unique competitive differentiator to the individual companies, but also helping grow the industry as a whole in the right direction. So for us, it's very much about thinking through how can we leverage the fact that UNICEF, as a trusted actor in this space, together with our partner Lego, also an extremely trusted actor in the child's play space, can together, and as well as with many other partners, including our Sesame Street partners, build this whole area as a whole and create that trust. And one of the very sort of concrete ways that I look at this is when my kids come to me and say, can I buy this game? I don't have a clue, right? And if there was something, a brand or an attachment or an association with this where I could say, hey, whatever you buy that has this is okay, everyone can see the rationale in that, and businesses can most certainly see the rationale in that. So if just allowing to think big for a moment, that we can aspire to ensuring that we have RightTech as a framework that's known to be an assurance of that this is something that supports well-being rather than the other way around. And through that, you help on all sides of the spectrum in growing the industry in the right direction, as well as in ensuring that the different actors, the children and the parents and the policymakers hypothetically also have a trust that this is an assurance that things are good.
Thank you. And I think that's a very good point. And before I turn it to maybe a question or two from the audience, I'd like to mention that we are already working with industry. So like Kristoffer mentioned, our partners. So first of all, this project started with the Lego Group and the Lego Foundation. And we currently have 2 new partners for this phase of the work. Games for Change is a partner for us, and the Joan Gans Cooney Center as well, as we try to reach out to gaming studios from all kinds, those who are already designing incredible experiences for children, very mindful and intentional, and those who say they don't even design for children, but we know they have millions of children on their platforms. So that's kind of the range we're trying to get and have this shared vocabulary and shared standard that Kristoffer was talking about. So we're reaching out to you to join this effort and to work with us to bring this whole industry into another level in ensuring that children's digital play has this kind of engagement and is basically designed for their thriving, and not just as an afterthought, like Cristina said, but from the beginning. So with that, I'm happy to, if there are any questions in the audience, we're happy to answer any question. Somebody back there? Okay, no worries. No question. Okay, so if there are no questions, that's fine too. I'd like to share some of the work we're doing that's currently doing it, and would like to send an invitation to all of you to come and join us in the different kind of work streams we're establishing with the different gaming community. We are working first and foremost with the practitioners, with the product teams, to understand their needs and how they can incorporate this. We've talked to many product teams at all the different gaming conferences, and designers and product teams and trust and safety and product leads are so excited to do this. They just don't know how. So part of that is creating this community of practice that is hosted by the Joan Gans Cooney Center, and where people who are interested in RightTech come and meet and share and exchange best practices and how to use this in their work. But in order for them to be able to do that, we also have to engage with leadership. And we've already started to meet with leadership in gaming studios all over the world to ask them how we can bring this into your company. And it's exciting to see the interest in this work as we move forward, alongside what Kristoffer said, which is also the stick, because we know the policy conversations these days are also promoting this kind of work. So we're getting both a stick and carrot approach here. And finally, we're also working with gaming programs, so that teach gaming to young designers with the idea that when they enter the industry, they will bring these tools with them and have that shared language and shared practice, so they can kind of go ahead and do it as regular practice. So our idea is that when you design a game that will have children on the platform, it doesn't have to be a game for children. FIFA was mentioned here. It's not a game for children, but obviously many, many children play FIFA. That you will know that this is just part of your design process. This is something you intentionally think about because you know it's better for the product, it's better for the users, and ultimately it'll be a win-win for all those involved. Are there any closing things you'd like to add?
Maybe just you mentioned the community of practice. I think it's really valuable. It allows different stakeholders to come in and start to adopt the right tech model, in whatever is most feasible for them. And I think that's what's magical, is it's not just, again, it's not UNICEF saying this is what's right. It's partners coming together, sharing, learning from each other. Sometimes those best practices comes from other people in the community, not the host. And so we're seeing it in the investing space, and just really want to ensure that being able to show up and identify how you can participate in whatever way is right is a way to participate and to start to strengthen also what UNICEF can build for the field. So encouraging you all to show up however you can.
Right. And if you look at where the project has evolved to, I recently stepped into this role, as I said, and started looking into this project, and it's just absolutely amazing to see how far it's come and to look at the data that exists, improving that these things works. So right now we're at a stage where we know we've got something that's extremely useful and highly proven. And the next stage is in the business endeavor, is indeed per what you're saying, and taking those small steps forward across the 3 dimensions that I was talking about earlier on in terms of the ROI, the taking it as a standard, or getting the regulation or standards adopted for it. So working with different partners in small steps, in trying the different components out, and building that data around it, hopefully to create that joint endeavor around eventually being able to say that this is a stamp of approval that ensures that games can be trusted, and the parents and kids and other actors can more freely make the buy decision on these games to make things happen and evolve in a constructive way that's good for kids, both on the safety side as well as on the well-being side of the equation.
Thank you. So I'll just close with saying our invitation is really simple. Go online, look at the Right Tech Design Toolbox, see if it resonates with you anywhere. Bring that into the conversation with your design team, with your community, with your leadership, with parents, with children, and start feeling how we can make this change together, and reach out back to us, and we'll be happy to follow through. Thank you.